ArieForce One is the Rocky Mountain construction creation at Fun Spot Atlanta, and this is a fascinating coaster. I think any ride from RMC, especially one with this much airtime, would get a ton of attention, but this one's particularly noteworthy because of where it was installed. You would not expect a coaster this caliber at a former FEC like this. So just how good is this coaster? In short, amazing. Find out why in this review. This property opened back in 1990 as Dixieland Fun Park. This had your prototypical family entertainment center offerings with go-karts, batting cages, and mini-golf. But this place had a boatload of land available, so there were lots of opportunities to expand. The park was eventually renamed Fun Junction USA and started to add some amusement rides. Then in 2017, the property was purchased by Fun Spot and renamed Fun Spot America Atlanta. Their two Florida parks each have a signature coaster. Fun Spot Orlando has White Lightning, an out-and-back wood coaster from GCI. Fun Spot Kissimmee has Mind Blower, an intense gravity group wood coaster with an inversion. While these parks are decently popular and filled out, they both have limited land available. Fun Spot had a giant canvas to work with at their newly acquired Atlanta park. People expected them to add a new coaster, but no one anticipated just how big they'd go. In 2021, Fun Spot announced they would be adding a steel coaster from Rocky Mountain Construction. Since RMC had recently announced their family coaster model, people assumed this is what Fun Spot Atlanta would add, but no, they were aiming way bigger. ArieForce One would stand 15 stories tall, and the layout would be action-packed. It would have a series of airtime hills and 4 inversions. As weird as it is seeing this ride Fun Spot Atlanta, this may not even be the oddest location for an RMC, because Wildfire Colmartin exists, but that's a discussion for another day. ArieForce One was expected to open in 2022, but the park hit a series of delays. There were supply chain bottlenecks and a small construction crew, but Fayette County presented the largest issues. To get zoning permission for the coaster, Fun Spot had to remove their miniature golf course to build a new parking lot and a drainage system. This not only caused $5 million in delays, swelling the total cost of the project to $18 million, but it led to months of delays. This ultimately caused the coaster to open a year later in 2023. While frustrating, the coaster is ultimately worth it and it'll forever change Fun Spot Atlanta. It's impossible to miss this ride as you approach the park. Not only is the ride far taller than anything else in the immediate area, but the first few elements run alongside the main road. This allows the coaster to serve as an advertising billboard for the park. And it also makes for one heck of a backdrop from within the park too. The airtime hills run along the back midway. Then the far end of the ride has some neat interactions. You have an inversion over the park's western-themed arcade building. Then you have a turnaround section of sorts behind the arcade right against a pond. Along with the interesting placement, the ride itself looks good too. It has a patriotic paint scheme. This is another RMC with multicolored rails. One is red and one is blue. Then the white steel support structure completes the look. And you even have some theming in the queue line station area. The ride was named ArieForce One. Fun Spot is owned by the Arie family, so it was a clever play on words. Now with that name, you would assume the coaster would have a plane theme, but it's really more of a space theme. The lower level of the queue line has some equipment and screens about spaceflight. Then the station level has some signs advertising the ride's stats and elements, plus a series of banners with Easter eggs related to the ride's construction milestones. Fortunately, you will not be spending much time here. There's a very high chance this coaster will be a total walk-on for you. I have visited Fun Spot Atlanta twice since this coaster opened, including on Memorial Day, and there was absolutely no wait for the coaster even with it running just one train. I have heard the park will happily run 2 trains even if it gets the smallest of lines though, which is a great show of customer service. Now this is the holy grail for coaster enthusiasts. RMCs typically have one of the longest, if not the longest wait at their respective parks. It's a combination of their smooth and frenetic ride experience combined with their lower capacities. These things are not the most efficient due to the restraint design. However, that is not an issue at a smaller park like Fun Spot Atlanta, and given the amount of coaster enthusiasts there seemingly every night, it's like an ERT session. Honestly, I'm most worried about the park getting a proper return on investment for this ride. Most parks build a series of smaller additions, working up to the big one. Fun Spot Atlanta jumped right into the big kahuna. Given the financial success of their Florida parks, I don't think this property or chain is in danger of going bankrupt, but I do wonder if they'll see the crowds flock to the Atlanta property like they anticipate. Simply put, this ride is a major outlier at this park. You have a ride better than anything at the nearby Six Flags Over Georgia, but the drop-off afterwards is immense. And then the park also does not look the most pleasing in spots because you're quite literally walking over a former parking lot with all the spaces still visible. When it's your turn to ride, the employees will either scan your all-day wristband or you can pay per ride. Each ride in ArieForce One will cost you $12 per person. If you plan to ride multiple times, and if you're a thrill seeker, you'll definitely want to marathon this thing. Go with the day pass. This will cost you $35. So if you ride ArieForce One at least 3 times, you'll come out ahead. If you plan to visit this park multiple times or the Florida Fun Spot parks, I would look into a season pass instead. ArieForce One is the newer swing axle trains from RMC. You have a seatbelt plus a U-shaped lap bar or shin guards. I find them snug but comfortable. I know taller guests may have an issue with the lack of legroom, particularly in the rapid-fire airtime moments due to the shin guards though. 2 notes with these lap bars. 1, they're pretty stiff, so they're resistant to lowering from the ride's forces. 2, the staff oddly doesn't push down on them. They only pull up. It's a similar to behavior to what I've seen on Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa. There's a video screen in the station telling guests when the restraint is at the verified position. From what I've seen, a lot of coaster enthusiasts use this to set their restraint at the minimum position to maximize their airtime. Now I've heard several people say the finale in ArieForce One has too much airtime, and this is coming from some coaster enthusiasts. So I'm wondering if they set the lap bar too high, which is leading to this issue. For me, it just doesn't feel right to set the lap bar that high, so I put it closer where it typically goes in other RMCs I've ridden. So my recommendation is to put the bar where you feel comfortable and most importantly safe. ArieForce One is the shortest trains of any iBox coaster. All the others feature 6-car trains. This one is a 5-car train. My favorite seats are still the back car, but I do need to brace myself for the finale if I ride in that seat. If you want to avoid that issue, you may prefer the 4th car. The airtime is almost as good, and you don't have the same issue at the end. But all rows in this coaster are excellent and deliver wonderful forces. Once checked, an audio announcement says liftoff sequence is engaged. You then roll out of the station down a sharp little drop. If you're in that back car, you are tossed forwards. You then have 2 little humps before the lift hill. The first of those actually gives an itty bitty pop of airtime for all. The second sort of throws you forwards if you're riding up front, but it's just the appetizer for what's to come. You then climb the very loud 15-story tall lift hill. If you turn around, you'll get a great view of the park. To the side, you will see trees for miles. Then if it's a clear day, you can see Atlanta's skyline looming in the distance. The main layout kicks things off with a near vertical plunge. This drop is very good. It has nice sustained ejector airtime in those back cars. That being said, the airtime isn't quite as intense as RMC's other drops. In general, ArieForce One crushes Six Flags Over Georgia's Twisted Cyclone, but I do think the latter is a stronger first drop. I'm not sure if it's the lack of the 6th car or the profiling, but like I said, it's still a great element, just it's a minor step down from what you may expect from an RMC. The pullout has decent positive Gs at least, and then you charge through the unique Raven Trust dive. This feels like a cross of the dive loop in RMC Raptors and the one on Six Flags Great America's Goliath. The track dives through the supports, leading to some incredible near misses and head choppers. Then the profiling is interesting too. The rise into the element is half a camelback that starts to bank outwards. Then you rapidly twist in the opposite direction as you dive back down to the ground. The apex gives good sustained floater up front, and that outward banking also throws in a lateral kink. Those in the back get milder floater airtime, but they're still levitating out of their seat for the twist downwards. Then everyone gets blasted with substantial positive Gs at the base. Next comes a speed hill, one of the best RMC has ever made. It has blistering speed, and also delivers an aggressive ejector pop for all. This one hits way harder than the speed hills in other iBox coasters. You then coast through the picturesque 0G stall. I know many people have been praising the arcade roll later in the ride, but this is personally my favorite inversion on ArieForce One. You get lots of sustained inverted airtime in this element, and the profiling also throws in some laterals too. The quick rotation upside down gives a surge of laterals up front. But I think the exit is even more interesting if you're in the back. You don't flip upright until you're pretty darn close to the ground, so you're still hanging upside down while diving downwards, which is a pretty trippy visual. Meanwhile, you are also rebuilding all your speed. The 180-degree twist upright not only delivers solid laterals, but the rotational speed somehow lifts you even higher out of your seat for a brief instant. It is a crazy transition. Next comes the best singular moment on the ride for me, the outward banked hill over the station. While not quite as large as the ones on Steel Vengeance or Iron Gwazi, it still delivers several seconds of very strong and super sustained ejector airtime while you're sort of tilted on your side. This type of airtime never gets old for me. This is immediately followed by a double up. The first hump delivers nice ejector for all, but the second hump is even more memorable. It delivers stronger and far more sustained negative Gs. That's especially true in the back car, as you have a sizable drop on the other side. It feels like you're being ripped skywards for the entire descent. Then comes the aforementioned arcade roll. This is a very fast 0G roll. This type of element is usually nice and floaty. Not this one though. The arcade roll is tenacious. You get vicious laterals, which are made even more intense by the supports all around you. It feels like the ride wants to chop your head off. You do get some weightlessness here, but it's overshadowed by the speed and lats. Then comes this outward banked bunny hill. This element weirdly varied depending upon which side of the train you were seated on. On the left side of the train, you got really good floater airtime here. Meanwhile, the right side of the train, which is lifted higher from the banking, gets more of an ejector pop. I tried both seats back to back at different points in the day, and this behavior seemed to be consistent. Then comes a low turn down by the water. This element is very strong and sustained positives, approaching 4Gs. Another cool part about this turn is that you noticeably feel the temperature drop down by the pond, especially on night rides. This is followed by another barrel roll. This one behaves similarly, delivering excellent laterals and a smidge of weightlessness. It also is super disorienting because you just experienced all those positives in an instant beforehand, and then you find yourself rotating 360 degrees in the blink of an eye. Next comes the chili dip on top of the arcade. This is basically half a bunny hill, and it delivers a good pop of ejector airtime. Now it's time for the ride's much talked about quad down finale. You have 4 bunny hills in quick succession, each diving a bit closer to the ground. This feels like the finale in Steel Vengeance on steroids. You have no time to recover in between each hump, but the airtime is considerably stronger. The ride violently chucks you upwards. Off-ride, this section looks like it's running in 2x speed, but the train really hauls through it that fast. It is a dream for airtime junkies. FunSpot lists the overall max negative G-force for ArieForce One at -1, but it has been measured far stronger than that. Some rides have hit -2 Gs at this point in the ride according to RideForce's graphs. Simply put, this part of the ride is downright insane. Afterwards, you jump upwards into the brake run. This is a sharp maneuver delivering one last burst of ejector airtime for all. Strong negative Gs too. This is perfectly comfortable in the first few cars, but you need to brace yourself in that back car. You see, ArieForce One has an incredibly short brake run, so this coaster needs to come to a very swift stop. The deceleration itself is smooth, but the issue is that those in the back car are still ejected from their seat when the slowdown occurs, so their bodies are tossed forwards like a rag doll. If you don't brace yourself, your shins and crotch will take a beating. I found it useful to do a combination of the following: stiffen your body, staple yourself going into the brakes, and/or hold on to the seat in front of you. This made it possible for me to marathon this ride in the back car without any pain. The coaster is 3,400 feet or 1,000 meters of track, which is middle of the pack for an RMC, and the overall ride length is more than satisfying to me. So what about the ride's overall smoothness? The actual tracking is flawless. The ride is super smooth as you'd expect from an RMC. The only possible discomfort comes from the finale. Some may find the quad down and the airtime specifically too aggressive. Others may find the entry into the brake run downright excruciating, but I didn't have those issues. Then in terms of pacing, the coaster is darn near flawless. You maintain your speed start to finish, and every element seems to be a winner. The worst element is probably the Raven Trust Dive, which is still really good. It is just a smorgasbord of forces across all the elements. So what would I rate ArieForce One? This coaster easily earns a perfect 10 out of 10 from me. This coaster is exceptional. I love the airtime. You have a mix of super sustained and rapid fire negative Gs. Then you also have 4 really cool inversions. The stall is my favorite, but the other 3 are great too for their combination of speed, head choppers, and laterals. And it's an absolute treat how easy this coaster is to marathon because of the park it's located at. This is a destination coaster that immediately became the best coaster in Georgia upon opening. So where does ArieForce One rank for me? Very highly. It can't quite top Lightning Rod or Steel Vengeance, but it's either my 3rd or 4th favorite RMC. It's neck and neck with Iron Gwazi for me. So those are my thoughts on ArieForce One at Fun Spot Atlanta. What are your thoughts on this RMC creation? Is it a top tier RMC for you as well? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.